Adrian Vale's life moved at the speed of capital. Boardrooms, private jets, media appearances. In just 5 years, he'd become one of the youngest tech billionaires in the world, CEO of Vale Industries, the company shaping future AI infrastructure. But behind the cold success, Adrian was empty. His father's death had hardened him. Love became weakness, rest became a luxury. He was always chasing something, but he never knew what. That night, he drove alone. The mountain road was slick with mist and silence. He needed air, space, escape. No assistants, no press, no bodyguards. And that's when it happened. A deer. A sharp curve. Tires screeched. The steel frame broke the guardrail like paper. Then, nothing but the forest swallowing him whole. When Adrian woke, he was broken, bloodied, drenched. Everything was pain, and nothing was familiar. His name, his life gone. The only thing he could hear was the wind and a faint voice calling through the trees. "Grandma, he's breathing. Hurry." A girl. Soft hands touched his bruised skin. He was lifted, slowly, carefully, into a wooden sled dragged across uneven soil. His world went dark again. Somewhere deep in the forest, Lyra and Grandma Yuna worked through the night. Herbal salves, boiled water, crushed roots. Lyra's hands didn't stop shaking. "Where did he come from?" she whispered. Grandma Yuna's wrinkled brow furrowed. "He came from the sky, child. Like trouble often does." In the city, Marcus Havel slammed his phone down. "No trace," he snapped at Adrian's assistant. "Nothing, sir. His car's missing." His phone went dark. "We're expanding the drone search." Marcus forced a calm smile. "Do that." Then, to himself, he whispered, "The longer he's gone, the more power I gain." Meanwhile, in a hut surrounded by pine trees, Adrian lay unconscious. The world had lost him. But the forest had just found him. When Adrian opened his eyes again, it was to a dimly lit ceiling made of bamboo and timber. The scent of burning herbs, damp soil, and boiling broth filled the air. His head throbbed like war drums. He tried to sit up, but pain surged through his chest like fire. "Don't move," a soft voice said. He turned his head slightly. A girl, early 20s, with long dark hair braided over one shoulder and deep, alert eyes, stood beside him. She wore a simple tunic, her hands stained green from herbs. "Where?" His voice cracked. "You're safe," she said. "You fell deep into the forest." He blinked. "Who am I?" Lyra's expression shifted. Concern shadowed her eyes. "You don't remember?" He shook his head weakly. "No name?" she asked. "No. Nothing. Just trees and cold." She stood, stepping away. "Grandma." Moments later, an older woman entered, stooped, sharp-eyed, with silver hair tied back in a red cloth. She stared at Adrian like one might examine a wounded animal. "You're lucky to be alive," Grandma Yuna said. "Leg broken. Shoulder dislocated. Fever. And that's just what we can see." Adrian closed his eyes. "What do I do now?" "You heal," Lyra said quietly. "We'll take care of you." Over the next few days, Adrian stayed in bed, his memories as blank as fresh snow. He watched Lyra brew potions, boil roots, and speak to animals like old friends. She was gentle, strong, and completely unlike anyone he'd ever known. She called him Ash, because of the ashes he'd nearly become. "You came from the fire," she said with a small smile. "But you're still burning." Adrian chuckled softly. It hurt to laugh, but her presence was soothing, like sunlight breaking through frost. But not everyone was comforted by his presence. Late one night, Grandma Yuna spoke in hushed tones to Lyra near the fire. "He's not one of us. He belongs to another world. There's something dangerous about him." "He's kind," Lyra said. "He listens. He helps. He doesn't remember who he is. That doesn't mean who he was good." Lyra looked toward Adrian's sleeping figure, troubled. "Sometimes," she whispered, "the forest erases you, so you can begin again." Meanwhile, back in the city, Marcus Havel stood before Vale Industries' boardroom. "We must continue without Adrian." He's been missing for days. The investors demand leadership. He smiled. I'll take temporary control until he returns. And if he never does, even better. Adrian slept uneasily that night. Far above the treetops, a drone buzzed silently through the air. But it flew right past the cabin hidden beneath the pines, blind to the man the world had lost, and the girl slowly stealing his heart. Adrian, now Ash, adapted to the rhythm of forest life, though it was unlike anything he had ever known. Mornings began with the whistle of birds and the scent of pine. Lyra brought him warm herbal tea in a clay cup. Slowly, he began to walk again, with a carved wooden cane Lyra had made. His strength returned. His memory did not. But something else awakened in him: peace. I used to feel like I was always running, he told Lyra one afternoon as they gathered wild ginger roots. But now, everything is still. Lyra glanced at him. Maybe the forest is where you were supposed to stop. They spent hours talking. About stars. About dreams. About who he might have been. About who he could be. Lyra laughed often, but rarely about herself. There was sadness buried in her eyes, Ash noticed. Her parents were gone. Her world was small, but her heart was vast. They were two ghosts who had found each other. One evening, as fireflies blinked like tiny lanterns outside the hut, Lyra sat with Ash near the fire. I want to remember, he said. She nodded. But if remembering takes you away from here? He hesitated. Then maybe I don't want to. Their eyes met. No more words were needed. Back in the city, chaos stirred. Vale Industries' stock was falling. Rumors spread of Adrian's death. The media buzzed. Marcus played his part well. She's grieving, he said to the board. Let me lead until a body is found. Behind the scenes, he ordered the drone search expanded into uncharted mountain zones. Find him, he hissed. Dead or alive. One of the drones caught a glimpse. A puff of smoke from a fire. A wooden roof, hidden under thick canopy. Marcus's eyes narrowed at the paused footage. There you are. That same night, in the forest, Ash traced a scar on his arm. Lyra sat beside him, weaving a necklace of small dried flowers. Do you believe, he asked quietly, that love can begin even if you don't know your past? She looked up, startled. Her hands paused. I don't know, she whispered. But maybe the heart remembers what the mind forgets. He reached for her hand. And in that small cabin, surrounded by the wild, something bloomed in the silence. The days that followed blurred in golden peace. Ash, Adrian, had grown stronger. His muscles remembered even if his mind did not. He chopped wood, fixed the old water pipe, even built a simple bench beneath the cedar tree where Lyra often read aloud from her tattered book of poetry. You're not from here, Grandma Eunice said one morning, watching him with calculating eyes. Your hands are too clean. Your back too straight. City man. I don't know what I was, Ash replied. But I know what I want to be. She raised an eyebrow. And that is. He looked toward the window, where Lyra was hanging wet clothes to dry under the sun. Someone worthy of staying. That afternoon, while gathering wild berries with Lyra, a low droning sound cut through the forest silence. Ash looked up. A black dot passed overhead. Fast, mechanical, watching. What was that? He asked, frowning. Drone, Lyra said. The city sends them sometimes. To map. To search. To spy. He felt a strange flutter in his chest. Unease. Recognition. Fear. That night, the dreams returned. Shattered glass, red lights, sirens. A man in a mirror with cold eyes and a sharp suit. His own face. But not him. Far away, in a glass tower in the heart of the city, Marcus stood over a paused drone frame, a man and a woman in the woods. The man had a beard now, longer hair, but he recognized him. Adrian Vale, he whispered, eyes narrowing. Still alive. He turned to his assistant. Send a recovery team. Quietly. I want him found before his family does. Back in the forest, Lyra found Ash standing alone near the cliff's edge where she had first found him. You okay? She asked softly. I saw something, he said. In my dream. A building. A woman in heels. A man who looked like me but colder. Crueler. She came closer. You're not that man anymore. What if I was? He whispered. What if remembering means losing this version of me? Lyra touched his arm. Then let the forest decide. But whatever happens, I'm not afraid of who you are. I only know who you've become. Ash looked at her, and for the first time, pressed a kiss to her forehead. But in the shadows behind the trees, someone was already watching. The peace was broken the next morning. It began with the howling of the dogs. Then the cracking of branches. Footsteps, far too heavy, too deliberate to belong to forest life. Lyra's blood ran cold. Hide him, Grandma Yuna said quickly. Into the cellar. Ash didn't move. No, I won't run. But it was too late. 3 men burst into the clearing, dressed in tactical gear, their boots caked in red mud. One of them held a photo in his hand. The same face stared back, clean-shaven, corporate, powerful. Adrian Vale, the man barked. Ash stared, stunned. That's me. You've been missing for weeks. Your family's been searching everywhere. Come with us. Now. Lyra stepped in front of him. He doesn't remember anything. He doesn't need to, the man growled. The company needs him. His board is waiting. The city is waiting. I don't care about the company, Ash said, quietly but firmly. I care about her. They took him anyway. Not with violence, but with pressure, guilt, mentions of a mother in grief, a brother in ruin, a company on the brink. Lyra stood on the porch, her face pale, her hands shaking. You said you didn't want to leave. I still don't, he said, eyes burning. But maybe I need to know who I was, so I can fight to be who I want to be. He handed her the necklace of dried flowers she had once made. I'll come back, he whispered. No matter what I find, I'll come back. And then he was gone. Back in the city, the world hit him like a wave. Adrian Vale's penthouse. Boardrooms. Journalists. Flashing lights. His mother wept when she saw him, frail, seated in a wheelchair, her stroke having stolen half her speech, but her eyes alive with joy. My son, she whispered, slurred but certain. Memories began returning, blurry at first, like rain on glass. Long hours. Ruthless deals. Loneliness in a house filled with gold. And Marcus, smiling too easily, already seated at Adrian's desk. Welcome home, brother. Brother. The word struck like a knife. That night, Adrian stood at his window, staring into the city below. He remembered Lyra's hands, her laughter, the smell of burning herbs. His past had returned, but his heart had stayed in the forest. Adrian Vale was back, but he was no longer the man the world expected. The board of directors wanted their ruthless CEO. Marcus wanted the old Adrian, cold, calculating, detached. But the man who had once barked orders and signed million-dollar contracts without blinking now paused before answering. He spoke with care. He listened more. And most dangerously, he questioned everything. You've changed, Marcus said one night, pouring whiskey in his brother's office. I woke up in a different life, Adrian replied, eyes steady. And maybe I liked that man better. Marcus chuckled darkly. That man chopped wood in the forest and kissed peasants. That's not who you are. Adrian's jaw tensed. No, Marcus. That's who I want to be. Behind the scenes, Marcus had already begun a hostile takeover. He had tricked Adrian's mother into signing partial control of the company under the guise of recovery. He planned to push Adrian out, permanently. But Adrian wasn't a fool. He had the forest in his blood now. Calm, quiet, patient, and a fire that didn't rage, but smoldered. One morning, Adrian visited the media, publicly, for the first time. I owe my life to a girl who saved me in the mountains, he said into the camera. Her name is Lyra. She healed me when I was broken, and I will find her again. The footage went viral. The people loved it. The story of a cold CEO who found love in the wilderness. It captured hearts. And it ruined Marcus's plan. In the days that followed, Adrian uncovered everything. manipulated documents, forged signatures, embezzled funds. Enough to bury his brother for life. But Adrian didn't destroy Marcus. He offered him a deal. Resign. Leave quietly, or the whole world will know who you are. Marcus's face twisted with rage, but he knew defeat. Later that night, Adrian stood on his penthouse balcony. He had reclaimed everything, but none of it mattered if she wasn't here. He opened the drawer where he had kept the flower necklace from Lyra. Still intact. Still his compass. "I promised you," he whispered. Weeks passed. The city never stopped moving, but Adrian Vale no longer cared to keep up. He'd handed control of the company to a trusted senior executive. He made sure his mother had the best care, visiting her every day, telling her stories of the girl who had once saved him, not just from death, but from himself. Then, one crisp morning, he packed a simple bag, slipped on a jacket, and disappeared from the cameras once again. The forest welcomed him back with a silence only he could hear. He remembered every turn now, every ridge and bend. The cabin came into view, smoke curling from the chimney, a line of herbs drying on the porch. She was there. Lyra stood barefoot, hanging laundry on a line, her hair tied in a loose braid. She didn't see him at first. He stood still, watching her like a man afraid to dream. Then she turned. Their eyes met. She dropped the cloth in her hand. "You came back," she breathed, barely audible. "I told you I would." He stepped forward, slow and sure, as if every step was a vow. "I remembered everything, Lyra. My name, my world, the man I used to be." "And do you still want to stay?" she asked, voice trembling. "I don't belong in boardrooms," he said. "I belong where I was reborn." He took the dried flower necklace from his pocket, still intact. "I brought something I forgot to return." She laughed, tears falling freely. "I made that for a man who couldn't remember his name." He smiled. "And I came back as a man who finally knows it." They embraced beneath the cedar tree, their first kiss now repeated, this time with memory, with choice, with full hearts. Grandma Yuna watched from the porch, smiling. "Told you he'd come back," she muttered and turned inside. Months later, the cabin had 2 more helping hands. Adrian built a schoolhouse nearby for the forest children, and Lyra taught them how to heal with herbs and heart. He still returned to the city sometimes, for charity work, for his mother. But he never stayed long. Because home was not the place he built with glass and concrete. It was the girl who had picked him up from the dirt and shown him how to feel.